truly the Witness's intentions are to end it all. This isn't purely about the final shape, but a crescendo of total annihilation. It craves a greater purpose, structure, meaning, a winnower, to carve away the chaos of existence, to calcify it into a final shape, eternal and perfected. Welcome back, Guardians. My name is Samlab, and today I'd like to share my brief notes on what Bungie revealed during the Into the Light livestream showcase. First things first, I'd like to thank the Bungie team for honestly what I hope is one of the better live streams. Their best, if not anything else. Everything that was shared about the upcoming Onslaught activity was fun, well designed and nostalgic on a couple of fronts. It reminds me very much of Season of the Worthy's Seraph Tower public activity that took place in the EDZ, getting Guardians to aid Rasputin, the War Mind, in launching the Warsat network into space, for Rasputin to take down the Almighty of the Cabal. That being the case, there is something hiding under the surface of this brewing situation. Through the live discussion between Andy Salisbury and Tom Farnsworth, we have learned that this attack, invasion or onslaught, whichever you prefer, has been initiated directly by the Witness itself. Guardians of the Last City will be charged with attempting to take back territory. The Witness's goal here is to resist and stop Guardians from entering the extraspatial portal of the Traveller. From a narrative-driven perspective, this is quite unique. One concerning detail is we do not know whether the Witness actively has influence or sovereignty over the Black Fleet and Hive. Now the Elixni, on the other hand, are an entirely different matter, but not much was discussed about whether this is true or not. When all Guardians and the Coalition of Cabal, the Elixni of House Light and the Dreaming City have entered through the extraspatial portal of the Traveller, Earth, humanity, and the Last City will be left completely undefended. This is why the process of Onslaught is essential. Clawing back as much territory as possible will be vital for the future of the Last City and its people. Now, many of you have seen the narrative breadcrumbs that essentially led us to the introduction of Onslaught in the first place, and that is the Concordat. For many of you who weren't around during Destiny 1 in the rusted barrowlands of the Cosmodrome outside the walls of the Last City, there was a prominent group known as the Concordat, a Guardian faction, and original members of the Consensus, led by one individual named Lysander. Setting their unknown ideologies aside, at some time in the past, the faction unsuccessfully tried to overthrow the Consensus and Speaker in a coup. For historical purposes, during early days, the Consensus was a ruling body of the Last City, created at the end of the faction wars, an alliance of the city's factions with the Vanguard. Only certain factions were allowed within the Consensus. The erstwhile Concordat were thrown out when they attempted a coup against the Speaker of the Last City. The former members of the Consensus were Future War Cult, New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, Concordat, the Speaker, and the Vanguard. The story goes that Lysander, the leader of the Concordat, refused to disband his faction and continue his campaign. With the Speaker's concerns about reclaiming lost territory after the battle at Twilight Gap, the Consensus chose to grant the Future War Cult access to the tower and a seat amongst the other factions. Have a listen to this armament lore entry titled All-Star Vector. You're telling me these skimmers just turned up? Prakash prods gingerly at one of the boards with his foot. It floats gently in place at the center of the storeroom. A donation of games, Spider says, distractedly. Is that unusual? He grunts. Displeased and gestured sharply, Ara moves the painting slightly left of its current position, wobbling precariously atop his chair. Usually there's a bet involved, Prakash explains. Or it's official Vanguard merchandise. This almost looks like one of Neomuna's skyboards, though, and the Vanguard wouldn't be passing that around. Well, then it seems we've lucked out this year. The right, Ara. Ara grumbles but obeys, hefting the frame into position. I think that did it, Prakash says, squinting at the painting. He doesn't see the point of it. A series of splotchy purple flowers along a dirt path. Indistinct trees, but Spider is gazing up at it like it's made of pure ether. Your donor leave a name, at least? Spider sighs and reaches for the datapad. Let's see. 2 shipments, personal vehicle, skimmer. Gift to the city. Here. Concordat. Spider looks over at Prakash, who shrugs. No idea who that is. Fascinating, right? What we just read could either be a red herring or tangible proof that something big is about to take place in Destiny's history. I shared earlier this week about how Destiny's narrative team creates cycles of rotating narratives. Well, this is most definitely one of them, and here's why. If every Guardian, Elixni, Cabal, and Awoken has left the Last City, who will protect the citizens left behind? Sure, defense systems and countermeasures will be put in place, but how long are they likely to last? Naturally, this would be the perfect time for Lysander and the Concordat to make a move, either in the form of a complete takeover or by approaching the Vanguard to offer support during a moment of strength and total weakness. Lysander knows that Zavala and Ikora will find it difficult to leave the city unprotected while they enter the portal of the Traveler to face the Witness. We don't know how things work within the realm of the Traveler, and Osiris is yet to provide information on how time in this paracausal space flows or will affect wielders of the light. And if time passes as quickly within the Traveler as it does inside of the Distributary, then we could be in for quite a shock. Picture it for a moment. All of humanity's champions entering the extraspatial portal, defeating the Witness, and protect the Traveler, only to emerge from the portal several years later, and the city has changed, and Lysander has been protecting and ruling the Last City for multiple years. Now, I'm just speculating a lot here, but the worst case scenario still stands. Once the Hidden relay information to Zavala and Ikora about Lysander's gift and Prakash and Spider for the annual Guardians games, all sorts of thoughts will be running through their mind. If the Concordat do return and Lysander makes the Vanguard an offer, it will truly be difficult for them to refuse, and I would hate to see their treatment of Cabal and Elixni, who have become citizens of the Last City. The nature of the darkness inherently changes spaces. The darker it gets, the more things born in the dark can cultivate, and the same can be said about the Pyramid's ability to terraform spaces and structures. During Season of Arrivals, a similar process had been initiated by the Pyramid ships on Titan, Mercury, and Io. During public events, Guardians would fight back Hive and Elixni whilst stopping the Pyramid from terraforming the very ground around you. Pyramid ships can subjugate spaces and make the conditions perfect for what they need, and the Witness is the driving force making this possible. If you have visited Rolk's sunken pyramid, resting in Savathun's throne world, you may remember many of the experiments that Rolk initiated in partnership with the Witness. At the behest of the Witness, the plan was to produce a factory line of controllable forces, using Zeta, the worm god mother, as a production facility. Examples of this can be seen throughout the Vow of Disciple raid. Grotesque, scientific and paracausal experiments and abominations fueling the worst of creations of Scorn, Hive, and quite possibly worse. All designed in the Witness's pursuit to enact a final shape, to take something that is broken and perfect it. Just as every race was touched by the light of the Traveler, the Witness took it upon itself to become a winnower. During the livestream, Jerome revealed that some of the core forces under the control of the Witness would be the Fallen and Hive, but also the Taken are active but elsewhere. This is something that I discussed during my previous Into the Light video, and makes absolute sense. But it will be interesting to see whether the forces of the Witness are exclusively under its control, or whether there is another disciple waiting to be revealed later. As the difficulties of Onslaught waves begin to scale up, Guardians will go toe-to-toe with bosses of several types, under the explicit control of the Witness, including Tormentors. So, beware. The universe rests on the shoulders of Crow, as he was the first to enter into the extra-spatial portal of the Traveler. Without a bridged connection between himself, Mara Sov, and some assistance from Osiris, it will be impossible to stop the Witness. Although all the forces of the Witness can enter freely into locations within the Last City, so too can we. This paints an interesting picture of the events to come as we head closer to final shape. My final thoughts. Retrospectively, this is one of the better live streams I have seen Bungie do for quite a while. This kind of weekly live stream to touch base with the community is a much needed change, so I'm thankful for the team for sharing this first part of what Onslaught is all about. Citizens of the Last City will undoubtedly be panicked by this 7th attack on their home. I would have loved to see some more interactions with actual people in the city and being able to escort convoys of civilians to face locations or rally points for them to flee to. Though it is exciting to read these kinds of interactions happening in the lore, I can't help but think that players would connect to the story more if they saw more than just Guardians and the enemies of humanity. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Guardians, the Witness means to make a fool of us, to usurp our very existence and drown out what little hope we have left. Do not let it. Now is the time for us to brandish our light for all to see. The light lives in all places, in all things. You can block it, even try to trap it. But the light always finds a way. That's all I have for you today. My hope is you found this video enjoyable and easy to understand. If you did, comment below and give this video a like. Consider subscribing and hit the bell to find out when my next lore videos go live. I'm currently working on a lore video all about the 9. I thought I'd tell you that before it comes out. And I have quite a few more backlog videos to get through, not just Destiny but also Warframe, and I'm working on some other big projects on the side, including the Old Chicago series. So a lot for you to look forward to. Thank you for supporting me and for being part of the PsalmLab family. Without you, I would not be here. Remember that no matter what you're facing at this moment in time, you can do all things. Stay safe and Godspeed.